Hello, I'm Tomasz Smaczny. I have been in the business for the last 20 years in different positions and different sectors, but mainly in sales and marketing. But what I'm doing now, I'm a parenting educator and a leadership coach. For a start, I would like to invite you for a walk with a child. This may be a child of your own, or this may be a child you know very well. So imagine you are preparing for this walk, and the kid is putting his shoes on, but he's very struggling he's struggling with lacing his shoes, and he's getting frustrated, and all of a sudden he's actually taking off the shoes and throwing them against the door. What do you do? And then eventually you're leaving the house and you are in the playground, and the kid is climbing a structure and he's getting to the point that he's hesitating to go farther. He's pretty high already, but he's frustrated. He's a bit hesitating, and he calls for your attention. He calls, "Help!" What do you do? And then you continue your journey through the park, and you're just walking around along one of the paths, and he's running freely, exploring the environment, but he's really energetic, and he runs here and there, and all of a sudden he stumbles and falls down, and there is this terrible silence for a moment. And then you start hearing him crying. What do you do? I'm not going to test your parenting knowledge, but with this simple exercise and maybe reflection of what would you do in these situations, I would like to just convey the message that we pretty much know what to do. And developmental psychology and child psychology give us a lot of hints of how to behave in such moments, so that we really help our kids go through these experiences. And I believe we can learn from this knowledge actually also in the business. And for a long time, I thought I was the only one, although I see that these two worlds are not that separate that one can think. Actually, these two words are about human relations and human communication. So I googled once whether there were other people thinking the same way, and I just came across Simon Sinek, who you may know very well, and he once said, "The closest thing to leadership is parenting." And I believe we can really get lots of inspiration from parenting into leadership. So today, we will look at the failure. So how to deal with failure in business, taking inspiration from what we can learn from mindful parenting. And I would like to refer to Gita's talk, because I really liked what she said at the end about being very subtle with offering help. So whatever you hear here today from me, it's not like it's not like a solid 100% advice that you should follow. It's just an inspiration, and whatever however it lands with you, that would be good. Whatever you can take from it. Okay, so if you look at this photograph on the right-hand side, then you can imagine that a small child running. It's somewhere in the park, in the forest, and there is probably a playground. So he's running with his stick. He's just jumping from one bump to another. You can see a slide in the rear of this picture, and probably he's totally indulged in play. And so when you observe these children who are totally, into this playful mode, they would go from station to the station. So they would go from slide, go down, then they would go to swing for a few minutes, then they would run, they would go to a sandbox, maybe climb. They would be totally into everything and anything, enjoying play. And we may think, okay, so are there any successes and failures during this time? And obviously there are, but we even hardly can notice them. And the reason we can hardly notice them, because the kid also, even they happen, but the kid is so focused on playing itself that they really go very quickly from one success to another failure, from one success to another failure, from one success to a failure. They even don't notice this because they don't matter so much. They're just part, an integral part of playing. On this structure, I can climb 4 bars, but maybe, yesterday I climbed 5. On a swing, I may just swing a little bit higher than yesterday. They would maybe notice this, but this wouldn't be the key thing that would occupy their mind. So what can we learn from this? Well, first of all, if we obsess, or maybe we're interested too much in, the success and failure, this playground could remind us that it's just part of something bigger. It's part of play. It's part of business. Yes. And so we can expect successes, expect failures, but what matters most is whether we still enjoy doing our business. Why are we here in the first place? And I believe if you enjoy doing your business, then you will thrive. So that's a good question to start with. Do I still enjoy what I do at work? If I'm so frustrated and if I'm obsessed maybe with success and failure. Now, if we agree that successes and failures are natural, and they are natural part of life and natural part of business, then I think teamwork and effort are not perceived and are not that natural, and they really wonders that we could appreciate more. But I would start from a child's point of view. Let's imagine there's a child coming from school and he brings an A being a very good mark, let's say. And there's a parent who says, oh, yes, you got an A in mathematics, so we will go to have an ice cream. Yeah, and the parent is very proud, the parent is very smiling. And then the other day, the kid is coming with an E, which, let's say, it's a very bad mark. And the parent would say, oh, okay, so no ice cream today, unless you do better, then there will be no ice cream. His tone of voice changes. He doesn't smile. He's not happy. And the message that the child is taking from these reactions over time is that actually the love and affection and attention of my parent depends on the mark that I bring. So he may be very motivated to get more A's, but not because he loves mathematics, science, or whatever, but because he would like to see his parents smiling. And this is not what would be the good for his healthy development. What a kid would expect, and maybe that what would help him to really focus on the job and also create a positive and very stable relationship with their parents would be that we acknowledge what happened. So you got an A, you got an E, but also talk about the effort, talk about the things that happened objectively that got him to this point. So if he gets an A, it would be good for a parent to say, yes, I really seen you have worked on this subject for the last 3 days, and I saw your frustration, and I saw you didn't come to see your friends because you want to finish this homework, and now you see you got an A, you know. And whenever an E happens, the parent would react similarly with the similar emotions. You know, you're still my son, and yes, you didn't work on this homework, you didn't work on these projects. Now you get an E. So you know the kid is focusing more on the subject, and he sees his parent all of the time behind his back, supporting him and assisting him in whatever happens. He's still a lovable child. And I think this is where we can also learn, and this is what we can also learn in the business, that we appreciate the effort and, for example, being together more, except for only appreciate successes, or maybe just discuss the failures. So that might be anniversaries, which we tend to celebrate, anniversary of a person being in the company, anniversary of the company itself. But it may be just after finishing this project, not talking about the outcome, whatever the outcome is, but talking about, okay, how many hours we put into this project, how many days, how many pages we have written, how many pages of code you have written. And if we put this together and just put it on somewhere on the screen, and so we can celebrate the effort we did as a team, because this really matters, and the outcome may be different, but it's worth celebrating our effort. Or it may be even another day together. After all, it's just another day of our lives, and it's worth celebrating, you know, as sunrise and sunset. So it might be just a small thing every day that we you know make our team, and just give our team the sense that that we are happy to be with them, you know, bringing something small, candy or whatever, just to say, I'm happy I'm with you also today, because it's a wonder. It doesn't happen so much that we feel very well at work. Okay. Now, why do we have a problem treating failure naturally? I mean, this is something that is being discussed. This is something, you know, is something that frustrates us, and there's lots of attention behind the failure. And it's our history, it's life history that made it this way. So this is what we have learned at home. Usually, you know, maybe you can refer to your childhood, but many of us just heard the stories that I just described when we brought an A, when we brought an E. This is what we have learned at school, because we got grades, and there were teachers, and I remember from my experience, but maybe it's also your experience. If I got an A, the teacher would love me, would smile at me, would be very friendly with me. And I had friends who got, you know, D's and E's, and not only they got bad marks, but the attitude of a teacher was very negative. You know, they wouldn't talk to them, they wouldn't smile at them, they would treat them as a problem. And it's really, you know, that the division between these good students and bad students was really visible, not only in the marks, but with the attitude of a teacher. Now we are also deceived by biased corporate news on LinkedIn, for example. I recently talked to a friend who is a leader for one of the IT startups, and I read lots of positive news. He's expanding globally, and you know, just good news. And I said, "Wow, you're doing great. We haven't talked for some months. Your business is doing great, and you know, it seems like perfect." And he says, "Tomasz, it's not that way. What you see as success is only a propaganda of success. We are talking about positive things. I'm not talking about negative things and failures and problems on LinkedIn. I'm talking about positive things. So the impression is it's only success." And it's even worse on Instagram. because it affects our personal lives. On Instagram, generally, we see only successful people, very good looking, doing very exciting things, traveling and drinking colorful drinks. And if we are in a more miserable, stage of our lives, then we think we are the only ones. We are really failures, because everybody else is having good time, is successful, and is positive. But it's false. It's fake. Everybody suffers, everybody fails, and I tend to remind this myself, just to also keep my stress out. Gita was talking about the stress. So whenever I see a celebrity or a successful sportsman, I'm sure he also fails, and I'm sure he also suffers, and that helps also dealing with personal failures. Now, accept emotions that come with failure. If we again look at this parent-child relationship, kids need to express their hard feelings safely, to clear their head and move forward. Safely, meaning with a person they trust, and usually these people are who they trust are their parents. And so, but it's not easy. It's not easy because, when we hear crying, when we see a child crying, and we hear them crying, naturally and genetically even, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because it is made this way so that we come and do something about it. But what we are doing about it is usually suppressing the emotions, because we don't know what to do, we don't know what to say, and we feel uncomfortable with our emotions, so we want to end it. And unfortunately, very often we just hear, parents saying, "Oh, don't cry. There's no reason to cry. Oh, oh, look, there's other children are not crying and you are crying," or just simply stop crying because I cannot stand it anymore. And this is not helping the children to process the emotions so they can really clear their system and move forward. So if we now go to a business situation and ask ourselves, how can we use this and get inspired by this, it would be the simple thing that we could offer and do is just listen. If we don't know what to do and how to deal with somebody's failures or somebody's emotions, if he's open up enough to share with us, so the first thing we could do is really listen and be with them. And this is what they would need. And that would be hard enough for us in the beginning, because, it's really hard to look at somebody suffering and be with them and not trying to stop it in a way. So, but that would be very helpful. Somebody is by my side. And then the next step, if we're more comfortable, instead of saying, "Oh, don't worry, there will be another project, it will be better, tomorrow is another day," and somebody else is even in a worse situation, we could just paraphrase and observe how he's feeling, what he's doing, and just offer a narrative of what's really happening. So we can say, "Yeah, I can see that you are suffering. I can see it would, from your words, I can hear that it's been very important and you feel disappointed. Yes, I know you put lots of work in this project, and it's normal, and normal that you are now, sad. I see your pain." The acknowledgement of what's happening is very powerful, and it helps going through the failure and moving forward. Okay, now there might be also another part of the story where we can actually bear with somebody else's emotions, and that would be, let's come to this parent-child situation where the parent would say, "Okay, I can bear with your emotions, I can take whatever it takes, and I would like to protect you from this." So from this situation I described in the beginning, For example, there would be, a child is putting his shoes on and he's very frustrated. He cannot put his shoes on and he's throwing the shoes. So this protective parent would come and say, oh, don't worry, I will put these shoes on. Yes, 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 let's do it. Yeah, okay, the shoes is on. Are you happy now? And to his surprise, child is not happy, because it was not about putting his shoes on. It was not about having his shoes on, but it was about putting his shoes on, the process. There might be, as in this example, that a child falls down and and luckily maybe nothing happens physically, but the child is crying a lot, and the parent would go and hug, and in a, I would say, um, in this overdoing way, so that you don't need to cry, I'm with you, now you are safe, etc. Just protecting him from whatever small disappointment or struggle or suffering in the world. And that's not helpful either, because what kids need from parents in these moments is some kind of confidence that the kids, can handle their own problems. If they feel that parent is always there and is solving their problems and keep, and also protecting them from suffering, they may get an idea that they are not able to do it themselves. They are not able to go through pain. They are not able to solve the problems, and they are dependable for life. So they would always go to his parent for consolation and for advice. For how long, And if you think that, one of the parents' role is just to making children independent and just prepare them to go to the world by themselves, then it's not the best strategy. So when you are a leader and you may be seeing yourself that you're maybe overprotective and you would like to, solve all the problems for all other people, then ask yourself, how much do you believe in your team? Do you think you are, maybe better at something? It might be true, but how much do you believe they can learn as well, they can handle? If you have this belief, they would learn. If you don't have this belief, then you would just repeatedly solve the problems and for themselves, and they would just learn to come to you. Okay, now, if you're a leader, let's say a project leader or a team leader, you might think, okay, so I agree, I would let my team to solve the problems by themselves. I would be maybe attentive to their emotions, but I myself, I wouldn't shed a tear. I would never show that I'm, that I'm weak, for example. But again, if we come to the parenting knowledge, then whatever we may say to the kids, so that they're open up in front of us, and they, whenever they have a problem, please talk to me. This is what we would like, kids to do when they come from school and preschool and would like to know what's happening, especially when they are sad. So we say, yes, it's totally fine. You can share with me anything, any bad emotions, fine. But if they don't see that we are doing the same, that we are modeling this behavior, they wouldn't believe. They wouldn't go this way. They also need to see, the children, that if we are sad, that we will show it. Not, with again, without overdoing, but if they see that there's a tear in my eye and they ask, okay, so Daddy, are you sad? Oh, and I say, oh, no, it's nothing, it's just I'm sweaty, They will see there's some false message in this, there's fake, and they would do the same. They wouldn't tell me why they're sad, for example. They would say, oh, Daddy, there's nothing. It's nothing. It's just, nothing happened. No, there's nothing. So if you would like certain behavior and culture in your organization, just there's no other way than model it. And I'm not saying now, that if we have a failure in the company, so the leader comes to the stage and say, oh yeah, now there's a disaster, and then there will be disaster for forever, and for another month he will be going with his head down. But I guess there is this mourning period. So if there is an announcement of a bad news, just let it be uncomfortable and let it be painful for this day, on for some certain period of time, and not just 5 minutes, so that we say, okay, so we failed, but there's so many positive things. So there's this one small bad thing, but there's 1,000 of positive things, while everybody feels that really something bad happened and they need time to process it. And the leader, if he is brave enough and he says, yes, I'm also disappointed, I'm also sad, and I'm also angry, and I'm with you on this, okay? And this is the day of the failure, fine. But then if we come back to the first slide, and the leader likes his job, then naturally the next day he comes to the next day, or maybe in a few days, or whatever time time is needed, he comes back to the office, and he would say, yeah, I'm now focusing on something else. I just go past what happened. That was then. I felt bad, but today there is another day, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So we are focusing on something else. Are you with me? And that would be more authentic, and I guess help people to go through this failure better. Now, lastly, there's a good question when we raise our children, whether we plan for this moment, whether we plan, if you go out for a walk, whether we plan for this walk, or whether we plan for a lifetime. Yeah, because if we plan for this walk, then we may really be very impatient with the time that kids take to put their clothes on. So that so we go faster. Okay, so I will help you. I'll put you on the jacket. We have to leave. We're in a hurry. Maybe we're hurry. Maybe we're not. So that would be a plan just for this situation. But if we think long term, that we would like our kids to learn and innovate and solve problems by themselves, we would give them time, lots of time, and we would give them our patience, because we always know that we would do things faster and better than them, and that requires our patience not to interfere with too much. And I believe it's the same with the business. If you plan, for a short-term result, you're very biased, and you tend to do things for the people, and maybe you have the plan and they just have to execute. But if you plan for a longer period of time, and you would like to build the team that would in the future maybe create things that you can even not imagine now, then it needs time, it needs your patience. And I believe, coming back to the beginning, if you enjoy what you are doing, then you will have this time, you will have this patience, and you will thrive in the business you are doing, just like kids in the playground. Thank you very much. I know my Q&A is not possible right now, probably because I just running out of time, but I will be in Gathertown right after this talk. And please also join me on LinkedIn or on social media if you like to connect and speak. Then I would be happy to meet you. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much. That was really, really nice. Thank you. I really liked what you said about acknowledging the pain as well, not just the end results. That was really, really nice. Yes. And when the leader sort of shows pain, that they're able to express their pain and not suppress it and say, oh, everything's fine, don't worry, that is fine. When we're able to do that, then the children are able to follow that example.
Exactly.
Important. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you,
yes,
Crystal.
No worries. If you have any questions for Tomasz, please join him in Gather Town. Oh, there's actually a question for you. Do you have some favorite books about parenting?
That's a good question, because actually I'm writing one now. So I would say the perfect book is not available yet. My favorite. But it's interesting. Just maybe an answer in a different way, because it was also interesting. Simon Sinek got the question from the audience once. And it was a talk about leadership, and he got a question. Okay, what's your favorite book on leadership? And he said the one book I would advise you would be, I can maybe the title in English would be a bit different, but it's a worldwide bestseller. So he would recommend a parenting book which is called How to Speak So That Our Kids Listen, something like this. There's a whole series of books, and he would recommend this book as a leadership book. But I think it's also a very good parenting book as well. But I can give you some other titles, especially the direction I like going, and I took also I use in this speech. There's some books available in English that I could recommend, but I guess it would be good. I can do it like after this talk. Yeah, in gallery.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Natalia says, I know that one, and I feel it in your presentation. Oh, that's really nice. Elena says, I think I might be ready to be a parent. Well, that's good news. That must have been very inspiring for you,
It's
Elena.
great. It's great. It says something about, maybe you're thinking about it already for some time. No, okay. Okay.
Okay, so now thank you so much, Tomasz. And now we're going to go over to Gather Town,
Sure.
where we can all gather with the other people in track two, as well as the other speakers. So I'm going to put the link here in the chat. Okay. And you should have a password to access that. Let me just
Yeah.
copy the password in case you don't have it, so you don't look for it everywhere.
And I hope, just to finish the meeting, I know, Crystal, it was very stressful for you as well. But you handled it very well, and I just appreciate your effort waiting for me. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this talk was literally the best talk to have just after that. It really does help.
yeah.
Okay, so I will see all of you in Gather Town. I'm going to be joining as well. Thank you so much. See you later.
See you. Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.